Welcome back, my friends, to another rousing rendition. Choir Boys Cutlery Outdoors. A little different rendition, if you will. Let me adjust this. Before we get into it, there was a time in this country where 22 veterans a day took their own lives. Now listen, guys, here's the thing that matters. The number 0. Anything above 0 is simply unacceptable. And that's all that means, man, is we love you. You're welcome here. We care about you. You have a place here. We're back to Blue over here. We support Leo all to the chagrin of many. How do you do that, Scab? Well, we don't break the damn law. And finally, if you are an addict, never quit quick. So guys, listen. Got a very, very unique video today. It's not going to be a long one. So I had a discussion with a young man in the comments today about, he couldn't quite grasp the reasoning for the design of the sacks, right? Wanted to call it a cleaver. Now, this isn't going to be negative. There's no need to be. It got me thinking about the design. This is a sax, a Norse sax, right? But here's the thing. It's not a Norse sax. This design has been found in 5th century Frankish graves. So we're talking about over 1,500 years of design right here, perfected right here in the sax. We want to associate it with Vikings, especially if you're in the South, son. If you're in the South, if you're a white dude in the South, you're either Irish or Viking heritage, or you'd like to pretend to be, right? So we associate all this stuff with Vikings. Yeah, that's cool, that's fine. There's a lot going on to promote that. This is the Work Tough Gear Dringer. It's even got a Norse name, Dringer. I never can say it right. But it's got a unique design. This is a meat cleaver. This is the Beast. This was made by Hedgie Blades, Hedgecliff, a good friend of Captain Electro's. This thing, and it's that. This is a beast. The cleaver's been around centuries. All right? It's ancient. This is an ancient design. This is made for cleaving meat, processing meat. Now, you can sharpen it up. You can use this as a kitchen tool. You can do whatever. But the young man's question was, I think he wanted to equate this with a cleaver. I think he wanted to, matter of fact, I think he just wanted to force this into being a cleaver. It's not. So let's talk about it. Let's kind of talk about it. Again, no negativity, no hate, none of that. It's really kind of an intriguing concept. If you look at this, okay, you might want to call it a chopper, not a cleaver. This is a knife. It's what it is. It's shaped this way. The symmetry of it is shaped this way. It was a do-all, catch-all weapon. Now this one's got a slightly forward cant, right? The guy kept saying, well, you can't put it on the counter without cutting your knuckles. Well, one, you can adjust the angle of cut. That's not what this was designed to do. Now listen, because people are going to want to be argumentative, and there's no need. This was a catch-all, do-all knife. Think of this as a Middle Ages or Frankish, Norse, whatever you want to call it. Over the centuries, this was an EDC. This was an everyday carry. This cut steak, this cut potatoes, this processed vegetables, this processed enemies. This did whatever, if you needed to build a bushcraft shelter, it was this. This is a tried and proven design. I've got a couple of videos on the sax design. Very, very effective. But it's also made for penetrating, right? Yeah, they don't like us to talk about that on YouTube, but I'm saying it in a historical context, right? This thing's razor sharp. And if I hold it this way, you can see that slightly forward cant. Could you process vegetables? Of course you could. It goes to skill set, right? And again, I'm not knocking the young man. He had a legit question, right? I'm going to quit saying right, because it doesn't matter if you agree or not. It's the truth. This is a catch-all, do-all knife, and I love it. A lot of times, I'll put it in its sheath and just tuck it in my belt and use it for everything. It's designed to make those long cuts. It's designed for penetration. It's designed for long cuts. You can chop with this. You can absolutely chop with it. In fact, we have. And this is a heavily, heavily used knife. Now, this is a Work Tough Gear. That edge is right there. The choil is right there. Now, all saxes, they may be different size, but this is the basic shape. It's designed. There were some of these that were larger that were made as short swords. Again, this to me would be an EDC for back in the day, right? You just have it in your belt, you pull it out, you do what needs to be done with it. It could be from shelter building, food processing, etc. Now, we go to the cleaver. And before anybody says anything, guys, listen, we've seen this over the past couple weeks. The only limitation these tools have, because that's what they are, they're tools. The only limitation these tools have is the user. It's not the tool unless it's just poorly built. Well, this is called the Beast, and you can see why. We've done a video with this. Heat treat spot on. Beautiful handle. This is a heavy-duty food it cleaves. It crushes. It chops. This one's pretty sharp. I can sharpen it up. I can get it razor sharp, and I can do whatever I need to do with it, right? But that's not what it's made for. And so when we look at these tools, we can't put them in boxes, although we can say, hey, this is what they're made for. I'm a big fan of this style. I love a cleaver. While this was used as an EDC, as self-defense, you could certainly use a cleaver. And if you've played any video games or Dungeons and Dragons, I'm sure your characters have, right? We live in a video game era where, I got to have a cleaver. These are food processors. These are meat processors. Jimbo has some of the coolest. Matter of fact, Jimbo, if you're watching, one day in the next 2 weeks, we got a lot to review. But I want to go to Jimbo's house. We showed him the Captain Electro. Shout out Captain Electro when he's in his channel. When he was in town, Jimbo's got some beautiful cleavers, big cleavers from Germany, back before the Nazis took over, I believe in the 20s. And they are just dope. I'll show you those. But these are made for processing meat, bone, whatever. If you want to chop vegetables on the counter, you can. I guess the idea was you won't cut your fingers. Where you can come down here and you won't cut your fingers, you can start here and just slide. Both are very, very, very good tools. And I'm not going to drag this to drag it. Here's the difference. When you hold them side by side, there are distinct differences. That's because there are distinct purposes for both, right? It's all your skill set. You can cut vegetables, meat, whatever with this. Now, and that was used, it was used a lot for that, but primarily these had a defensive, offensive type thing. It's a knife. It is what it is. Where this is a food thing. Let's take one more good look. Now listen, guys, I started up my Patreon. We've had some pretty good success. I've got a couple videos on there. I'm going to mention Patreon for the first, maybe month. If you'd like to do that, it's $5 a month. But now listen to me. Hear my heart on it. If people don't do Patreon, I don't care. And not in a mean way. It is simply something at $5 a month to help the channel. That's it. If you can't, nobody has to put in the comments why they can't. There's been times where Megatron and I, and this is a fact, and she'd vouch for it. There's been times where we had to split a can of corn for dinner. That's a fact. So I understand. The Patreon is just something we're trying. We've had a good response. We've got a couple videos up. We're going to do some things this weekend. That's it. If you'd like to help the channel, man, we'd love to have you. Love y'all. Listen, again, no hate, all love. We're going to do some more of this type of stuff. Tools for the job. And maybe we'll start a little series. What are knives made for? Now, again, remember, your skill set dictates what you can do with them. But they are purpose built. I'm Scab. You're not. Love y'all. I'm gone, son. One more look. Doodaloo.